Anthony Grasso here, bringing you financial news that you can use. In this particular video, I'm going to do a stock review on Rocket Lab. Is this space company worth investing in right now? Well, let's find out together. I'm going to go over a summary of the company, its product offerings, recent headline news, financials, analyst projections, and I'm going to give up my buy, hold, or sell recommendation for both your short-term and long-term growth investors out there. As always, folks, don't forget to smash that like button down below. Definitely helps. And consider subscribe and hit that notification bell for your daily stock reviews and recommendations from an unbiased source. So let's get right into it. And as always, this video is brought to you by Webull. It's an online brokerage and trading platform where you can buy stocks, options, ETFs, and cryptocurrencies. If you sign up today and deposit any amount, you can get up to 12 free stocks by using my referral link in the description down below. All right, so Rocket Lab is a space company that provides launch services and space system solutions for the space and defense industries. Now, the company provides launch services, spacecraft engineering and design services, spacecraft components, spacecraft manufacturing, and other spacecraft and on-orbit management solutions, and constellation management services as well, as designs and manufactures small and medium class rockets. It also designs, manufactures, and sells Electron small orbital launch vehicles and the Photon satellite platforms, as well as developing the Neutron 8-ton payload class launch vehicle, conducts remote launch activities, and designs and manufactures a range of components and subsystems for the Photon family of spacecraft and broader merchant spacecraft components. Now, the company serves commercial, aerospace, prime contractors, and government customers. The company was founded in 2006 and is headquartered in Long Beach, California. So let's look at some of the news of the company right now. So Rocket Lab stock increased 20% on record Q2 revenue. Now, profitability remains elusive for now, but Rocket did ring up blistering sales. Now, Rocket Lab stock is soaring about 20% above its all-time low, and Rocket reported a net loss of $37.4 million for the 3 months ended June 30th. This tally more than doubled the net loss of $16.7 million in Q2 of 2021. Now, however, enthusiasm for Rocket Lab stock is centering around the top line number. The firm generated $55.5 million in revenue. Now, this sales overhaul represents a significant five-fold lift against Q2 of 2021, which suffered from the pandemic. Sequentially, against the Q1 2022, sales improved 37%. Now, Rocket Lab, which has a footprint in both the US and New Zealand markets, forecast Q3 revenue to expand to between $60 million to $63 million. On the bottom line, its adjusted earnings loss will also likely come in between $8 million and $12 million. Now, in Q2, the adjusted loss came to $8.5 million. So let's go ahead and look at some of the fundamentals of this company right now. So the current stock is trading at $6.81 a share with a market capitalization of $3.2 billion. Now, the company is projected to have about $224 million revenue for 2022 with an estimated negative $112 in earnings by the end of the year. Now, the revenues are projected to increase over the next few years to around $483 million by the end of 2024, with only a negative $24 million in earnings. So definitely a positive trend. Revenue grew about 130.8% over the past year, and Rocket Lab is expected to become profitable over the next 3 years. Earnings are forecast to grow around 61.82% per year. Now, let's look at some of the key measures of this company right now. Because let's look at the valuation real quick. Because the earnings of Rocket Lab are they're not positive. This price to sales and the price to book ratio is the most appropriate valuation measures. Therefore, Rocket Lab seems expensive with the price to sales ratio of 25.8 times than the industry median of 2.3 times. Now, the price to sales ratio versus the fair ratio. This is an expected price to sales ratio taking into account the company's forecasted earnings growth, profit margins, and other risk factors. Now, the Rocket Lab does seem expensive based on its price to sales ratio, 25.8 times compared to the estimated fair price to sales ratio of 5.1 times. but looking at the share price versus its fair value. Now, what is the fair price of Rocket Lab when looking at the future cash flows? For this estimate, we're going to use the discounted cash flow model. Rocket Lab at $7 or $6.70 is trading below our estimated fair value of $55. Now, if you look at the profitability of the company, a lot of the numbers are bad. The net margin is negative 151%. Now, even though the margins have been on the negative decline, the company's future projections look good. I project gross margin to be 12 to 13.5% in 2022 and 2023, driven by higher revenue in its space systems segment, now which carries a substantially higher margin than its launch service segment. Now, the company doesn't pay any dividends, and looking at the growth of the company, these numbers aren't really here on CNBC, but it's forecast to become profitable over the next 3 years, which is considered above average market growth. High growth revenue, it does have high growth revenue, and its revenues increased or forecasted to grow faster, 46.3% per year than the market. So looking at the financial strength of the company right now, although it increased the percentage of debt used in its capital structures this year when it went public, it has a debt to total capital ratio of only 14.2%. Now, the quick ratio shows that the balance sheet can make up for the shortfall as there are enough liquid assets to satisfy current obligations. Now, Rocket Lab does have more cash than its total debt. Its short-term assets of $706 million exceed both its short-term liabilities of $144 million and its long-term liabilities of $147 million. So what do the analysts say specifically regarding this company? Well, the average consensus for this company is a buy recommendation. The average price target of Rocket Lab over the next 12 months is $13.63 a share, with a high estimate of $20 and a low estimate of $6.50. Now, let's go over a few of the analyst reports specifically. Now, the CFRA report has a buy recommendation that reflects their view that Rocket Lab has emerged as one of the top launch providers for small payloads. Now, other small competitors in the space like Astra have seen a number of failures on high-profile missions. Now, while larger operators like SpaceX offer ride-share options for smaller payloads, customers may not get the exact orbit they want, given the rocket's flight is tailored primarily to the principal payload. Now, we believe that Rocket Lab will be able to further reduce launch cost as its Electron rocket inches closer to the reusability. Now, they expect it will continue to pursue additional tuck-in acquisitions for the space systems segment as it works towards becoming a fully vertically integrated company, offering end-to-end solutions for space hardware and software. Now, looking at one more research report, the Ford Equity research report, they have a hold recommendation on Rocket Lab. That's the result of their systematic analysis on the three basic characteristics they look at. They look at earnings strength, relative valuation, and recent stock price movement. Now, the company has managed to produce a neutral trend in earnings per share over the past 5 quarters because the company lacks sufficient analyst estimated data. They place greater weight on the historical earnings per share trend as a measure of earnings strength. Based on operating earnings yield, the company is overvalued when compared to all the companies that they cover. Share price changes over the past year indicates that Rocket Lab will perform very poorly over the near term. So, based on all of this information so far, and let me back over here, am I a buy, hold, or sell recommendation on Rocket Lab? Well, here are my thoughts regarding this. Now, even though the shares of Rocket Lab are down nearly 50% over the past year alone, my consensus price target is around like $13.50 a share. That would see the stock more than double from the current levels it's currently at right now. Yet investors have dumped a lot of their stock in the past year. There was an unrestrained euphoria in the markets when all sorts of pre-revenue startups merged with the special purpose acquisition companies, or SPACs. Now, when the rise in interest rates hit, it prompted traders to shun speculative ventures, including fintech innovations, air taxis, and yes, companies like Rocket Lab. But Rocket Lab has actually achieved the impressive feats it promised to its investors. Beyond launching 149 satellites into space so far, Rocket Lab also sent NASA's Capstone spacecraft on its way to the moon's orbit in June. A month earlier, it caught the Electron booster in midair with a helicopter, a key step toward making a rocket reusable. For comparison, a company Astra has suffered a number of failed launches over the past year. Firefly's Alpha rocket exploded during its final test launch, and Relativity has yet to even attempt one. Now, the company ranks as the second most active U.S. orbital rocket builder after Elon Musk's SpaceX, with his Electron rocket having launched nearly 150 satellites to date. Now, Rocket Lab expanded into building spacecraft and satellite components, like the majority of its revenues, and has about $540 million in cash on hand, as well as a backlog of orders totaling more than $500 million. Now, Rocket Lab beats out the other aspirational pre-revenue companies by actually delivering meaningful revenue. Now, while Rocket Labs has posted negative earnings, this is because the company is investing in its upcoming larger rocket, the Neutron. Now, given the operational successes of Rocket, especially when compared to the failures of its peers, Rocket Lab stock appears to be a viable speculative investment. So based on all of that information, I'm a buy recommendation on Rocket Lab, and I put a 12-month price target of around $13.50 a share. I consider Rocket Lab a triple threat company. It's a low-cost launch provider that has been proven successful. The financials are pretty solid. Growth is good. Margins are likely to prove good as well in the next coming up future. It's cash resilient and likely be able to access capital when it needs it. Now, when investors finally come around to discriminating between the other SPACs in the market, they may realize that Rocket Lab has long achieved escape velocity. High growth potential with an adequate balance sheet summarizes it all up. Risk to my recommendation, though, so we have to talk about that, and target price include increased competition from new and existing providers for launch and design services, as well as delays to either the construction or launch hardware due to supply chain issues. But I'm not too worried about that at this moment in time. So there you have it, folks. And as always, don't forget to smash that like button down below. Definitely helps. And consider subscribing. Hit that notification bell to like your daily stock and cryptocurrency recommendations from an unbiased source. Until the next stock update video later today, folks. Ciao.